Hello, Midnight Coders, and welcome back to another Spring into Java. In the last episode, we connected MediaStack to the outside world and we fetched real book data from Open Library and we mapped it clearly into our domain. So today, we are taking the next natural step, which right now our books only live in memory for the duration of our server. Once the application is off, the books are gone. That's not very useful. So in this video, we are going to configure a file database with H2. We're going to persist books using Spring Data JPA. We are going to prevent duplicated books from being stored. And we're going to explore multiple ways to view our database data. By the end of this episode, MediaStack won't just fetch books, it's going to remember them. So grab that cup of coffee and let's make this data stick. Before we touch any configuration, let's define what done looks like. When a book is fetched by ISBN and then it is saved into our database. If a book already exists, we don't want to create a duplicate. So we want to also be able to visually inspect our stored data, even when the application is offline. So this keeps our service realistic and our production oriented. Now let's dive on in. So first things first, we need a database. So for development, we're going to use an H2 file database that works perfectly with Spring Boot. So this is going to give us automatic schema creation. It's going to give us SQL visibility, and it's going to give us a web console that we can inspect our data later, as well as a file to persist it across regions. So what does this look like? Let's pop into our application.properties. And in here, we need to create a couple of new properties. First one, we're going to do a little bit of H2 database configuration. So we'll just call this database. And this is going to be Spring dot data source, something like that. We don't want memory, we want file dot slash data and stack. From here, we next want to set up our username, password, these defaults. From here, we're going to down to some JPA configurations. So this here, we're going to have, we're going to have this auto update. We are going to have SQL set to true. We're going to have the database platform. Want that to be Hibernate H2 dialect. Yep. And lastly, we want a couple of things so that we can see this. So I'm going to set up the H2 console. So in here, we're going to set up that it is true and that we are going to set up the spring.h2 console path. so that we can see this. And I'm actually going to change this just up to ACP for admin control panel, just to make that a little bit easier um, going forward. Um, yeah, that's about it that we need for this. Next, we need to prevent duplications. So we need to define what makes a book unique. In our case, that is the ISBN. So a couple of things that we want to ensure are database level protection and clean domain rules. So what does that look like? Let's dive into the book entity. And in here, we are now going to make this table. The table is going to have a name of books, and it's going to have a unique um, unique strengths. Should probably put a comma in there. Strengths are equal to, going to slap this on here, yes, but full body. There we go. And this is going to be column name of ISB. Next, the next thing that we need to do in here is we need to tell our this specific column. So we're going to use the at column annotation. And we're going to tell this a couple of things like nullable is false and unique is true, because we want this to be explicitly unique. Now, that being said, we also have to pop into our media item and make a change to this as well. This is now going to have an at enumerated, this is an enumerated value because this, of course, is a enum. So we're telling that this is of type enum string, so that when it persists this into a database table, it's going to do so as a string. Now, the next step that we need to take is our service layer. Now, we need to update our service to do two things. One, check if a book already exists in our database, and only persist it if it is new. So what is the goal here? We want um, independent behavior. We want safe persistence, and of course, clean service logic. So what does that look like? Let's jump into our service implementation. And we first need to come up here to the top and introduce a private final book repository, because now we're going to actually take some action on our book repository. And also, I need to clean this up from last video. Not even what it is, Mike. There we go. Okay, so that kind of cleans that up. So now what we want to do here is we're going to do a little hack job. So Essentially, I want to return the book repository dot find here, pass in this, and now I want to do an or else get. There we go. Or else get, and we are going to then I want now tell this that if we don't have it in our database, I'm going to go ahead and say that I want to get this here. I'm now going to save this as a book. Is going to equal creating a new book. And from there, I want to simply return book.save. Up the rest. There we go. So now what this is going to do is it's going to look in our repository to find anything by this name or by this number. And if it does not exist, then we are going to then get this action here or this supplier, which in our case, the supplier is taking in the REST client and it is making a GET request, mapping it, and we're going to return the book that we've already seen in the previous episode. So once we have this, we can start viewing our database. So to kick things off, we need to put a little bits of stuff into our database. Go. So now we have a database created that we can actually connect to and view. There's just nothing in it right now. So let's go back to our endpoint, our getter, and we are going to stick our friendly number in here. We're going to submit the request, and it returned an error, unsupported URL. Okay, that is because of some mapping fun. So we're going to put this back to the way it was. Get rid of that altogether. Rerun the project. Go back to our endpoint. And we're going to submit this request again. And here we go. We got the book. We have it here. Now, just to see if we have a second book or if we can store a second book in here, I'm actually going to go down into our scratch file from earlier. We're going to grab our dummy book. And I will drop that ID in here and we will see we have that book as well. All right. Now, what does that look like? How can we view this? This is pretty cool. So, there's a few ways that we can view this. We can turn this back on. While we have this on, we can actually crack open a browser, go to /ACP, and we're greeted here. So now we can tell this that we want a file data MediaStack uh, MediaStack and driver is look back to our properties org H2 driver. And if we connect, look at that, we're in. So now you see that we have, you probably can't see this because this is very small. Let's zoom in so we can see things. So as you see here, or there, as you can see, we have books. And if we click on it, generates a SQL code for us, and we can run that code. And as you see, we have our information. We have the books, the IDs, all the information. This is exciting. Now, what's another way that we can do this? Well, thanks to Spring, because this is a file, I have to stop this. But thanks to magical Spring, I can come into here. I can click on this little button here, on line 4, and it will magically wire me to where I need to go. I click on test connection. You'll see that we've succeeded. So now hit OK, open up database view. And for those of you that are wondering, um, when JetBrains merged their community version and their ultimate version into one single version application, um, this released one of my favorite tools, which is this database tool. And this is now free, absolutely free, part of the community edition. And this is like one of my favorite things. Okay, so here you can see we have the database. I can open the database up, drag this over here so we can see things. And now I can expand this and see that we have public tables. I can check that we have tables. I can see that we have books. Now, if I drop this down, I can see that there are 8 columns, there's 2 keys, 2 indexes. This is cool. I can see all the different types and information that I need to know about the different types here. As you can see, it picked it all up. But now, what if I wanted to view the data that's in here? Well, if I just double click on books, look at that. It opened up right here in my IDE. I can view this information straight here in my IDE. I want to change the view to be maybe more of a tree. This looks a little messy because we're zoomed in, but I can then see a little bit more about the data that's inside. Again, this view looks a little funky because of the fact that I'm zoomed out or zoomed in. So this is really cool. And this is just a couple of ways that we can view our data. All right. So at this point, we've configured a file database with H2. We've persisted some domain entities, and we've prevented duplications. So we've also we've also seen a couple of ways that we can view our data through the H2 console as well as through IntelliJ. And as you already saw, we can view this through the um, console as well. Now, in our next video, we're going to introduce another way to view this data, the browser. So I'll show you how we can make use of TimeLeaf, which is an HTML engine, And this will allow us to pass in a POJO or plain old Java object and interact with it in HTML as if we were interacting with it right in the Java class. Like, this is mind blowing. So, if you've made it this far, thank you very much. I hope you learned something. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up. Lets me know that I'm on the right track. And if you know somebody that may find this useful, make sure to share it so that it reaches more developers. And if you want to learn more, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications so that you don't miss an episode. And as always, keep your curiosity open, your skills sharp, that coffee cup full. I'll catch you in the next one.